Welcome to the very first class of Alchemic Academy. I'm Kanan, and today we're beginning our journey into the deeper mechanics of Magic the Gathering. Now, even if you've played Magic for years, most players don't fully comprehend the full structure of a turn. And let me tell you, more Commander games are won or lost not by big splashy spells, but by knowing exactly when you can act. So today's lesson is the anatomy of a turn. By the end, you'll know every step, every phase, and exactly when you get priority. Every turn in Magic follows the same order. Think of it as a roadmap. The beginning phase, the first main phase, combat, the second main phase, the ending phase. Within these phases are smaller steps, and this is where most players get tripped up. Let's walk through them one by one. First up is the beginning phase. It has 3 steps. The untap step, where everything untaps. Nobody gets priority during this step, so no casting spells or activating abilities just yet. Next up is the upkeep. Now triggers that say at the beginning of your upkeep happen. Players do get priority during this step, so it is the first chance in your turn for anyone to respond. Lastly, we have the draw step, where you draw a card. Players then do get priority, so yes, your opponents could cast an instant before you reach your main phase. Next is your first main phase, now known as the pre-combat main phase. This is where most spells and abilities get cast. You can play your land, cast sorceries, creatures, planeswalkers, enchantments, you name it. A common oversight is that you don't have to play your land or spells here. Sometimes it's better to wait until after combat to see what happens. I'd like to move to combat. Now, combat is the most complicated phase because it has several steps. Firstly is the beginning of combat step. This is where those at the beginning of combat abilities trigger. Players do get priority here, so an opponent may tap down your creature before you attack. Next, we move to the declare attacker step, where you declare which creature or creatures are attacking and to whom. Once declared, they are generally tapped, and priority is passed once again. Thirdly, we have the declare blocker step. This is where the defending player or players declare their blockers. Then, priority is passed. This is the best window for combat tricks. Next up, we have the combat damage step. This is where damage is assigned and dealt. State-based actions are then checked and resolved. Then, players get priority. Finally, we have the end of combat step. This is where any of those until end of combat effects wear off, and players get one final chance to act before main phase 2. Here is something critical to understand. When the active player, the player whose turn it is, says, I move to combat, they're not actually in combat yet. What they are really doing is offering the table an opportunity to respond. Think of it as asking permission. Does anyone want to do something before I go to combat? If no one responds, then you move forward to the beginning of combat step. But if someone does respond, say they tap down one of your creatures with a spell, then you're still in your pre-combat main phase until the stack fully resolves. After that, as the active player, you again get priority in your main phase, and you can choose to act or try to move to combat again. This is different from moving between steps once you're already in the combat phase. For example, when you move from the beginning of combat step to the declare attacker step, if someone responds at that time, you remain in the beginning of combat step, not back in the main phase. So the short version here is, when you try to move to a new phase or step, you're asking the table if they're ready. If they're not, and if they respond, you stay where you are until everything resolves. Then comes the second main phase, or post-combat main phase. Same rules as the first main. A land, creatures, sorceries, planeswalkers. This is where a lot of players like to drop their second wave of spells after they've seen what survived combat. Keep in mind, if you played a land during your first main phase, you can't play a second one. Finally, the ending phase. It has 2 parts. The end step. This is where, at the beginning of the end step, triggers happen. Players do get priority, so this is the prime time for instants and flash creatures. Then, the cleanup step. You discard down to your maximum hand size, damage wears off creatures, until end of turn effects end. Players do not normally get priority here unless something triggers, in which case the stack is open again. Here's a golden rule. Players get priority at the end of each step and phase, except the untap and cleanup. That means if you're holding mana from a mana rock, it empties at the end of each step. No floating mana forever. It also means you always get a chance to respond, whether it's during upkeep, combat, or the end step. Let's take a look at an example. Say we're in a game of Commander, and I have Kadena Slinking Sorcerer out on the battlefield. During my upkeep, you cast Lightning Bolt, targeting Kadena. In response, I cast Giant Growth. Because of the stack, which follows a last in, first out order, Giant Growth resolves first. My creature gets +3/+3, then Lightning Bolt deals 3 damage. My creature survives. Knowing the timing here can be the difference between keeping your commander alive or losing them back to the command zone. To recap, a turn has 5 phases broken down into 10 separate steps. Players get priority at the end of each step, with the exception of the untap and cleanup steps. Knowing when to act is just as important as knowing when to cast. Your homework for this week: next time you play, try calling out each step of your turn out loud. You'll be amazed how many new windows of interaction you notice. In our next class, we'll break down the stack, the beating heart of Magic's rules. Until then, class dismissed.